4:30, the meeting will come to order. Get you Angie to call the roll call.
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Bunting,
Present.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Here.
Commissioner Owens.
Here. George, can we get you to say the invocation?
Bow your heads, please. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today and asking many blessings. First of all, Father, we ask you to bless our armed services, both overseas and at home, and their safety. We also ask, Father, that you be still watching over our farmers and having them be safe, and also have a good planting season so that we can have a bountiful harvest. We also ask, Father, you be with the folks of Gratiot County and the commissioners tonight as we do things and hopefully pleasing to you. For the name we pray, amen.
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 If you join us for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one addition to the agenda.
Yes, if we can add a J2, the annual tax rate operating for the county, the L 4029 that Keegan will present.
Take this.
Hear a motion to approve the agenda.
The agenda. Support.
Is that number 7?
J2.
Oh, J2?
Yeah. Everything moves down.
Moved and supported that the agenda be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public comment. Hearing none. Consent calendar.
Move the consent calendar.
Sport.
Moved by George, supported by Steve to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carried. Commissioner Administrator's report.
Well, it's been 3 weeks since our last meeting, so we've got a little bit of extra information than I normally do. I'll try to get through it, and at the end of it, Sheila's gonna have a real quick admin update for you too. Speaking of buildings and grounds, our campus tree project has been completed. At our last meeting, you approved Carmen Tree Services to come in. They dropped 9 diseased and dead trees. I was a little bit worried that it would thin the campus out, but I thought it looked really good out there.
Me too.
I thought the scenery, much improved landscape.
I think it makes a nicer view of the courthouse. It really does.
It was.
I think it, I
It's
like
nice to look at the front of the side of the courthouse now, see all those dead plants.
dead trees. So we will look for opportunities to plant new landscaping, new trees or shrubs to help replace, do our part to ensure that we get the proper O2 levels here in Gratiot County. But that'll be something that we'll look at down the road this summer. Tony will be presenting the pavement resealing job tonight for your selection. This will be the second item on the capital projects list that we're going to tackle this summer. In a couple of years, there's a few places such as over at the church that I think this will probably be the last time that we're able to reseal that parking lot.
We have to fix it.
We'll have to grind that up and repave it. You may or may not know, we do have an agreement with the church across the road that our employees can park there throughout the week as long as we maintain the parking lot. So that is why we take care of that parking. Matt has the phone project out to bid currently. A few companies have asked for extensions, which Matt has or will be permitting, so that might be delayed for a couple weeks, but it is in process. The next project that we have currently being written to go out to bid is the airport tree removal project. Personnel update, we completed a countywide training session for our employees. I believe all 5 of the commissioners were able to attend one of those sessions. The training was titled 5 Traits for a Highly Effective Team. The prosecutor's office has hired a new assistant prosecutor. That position had been open. I don't even know how long that position's been open. It have been two years plus now. So we're gonna allow Laura to make the appropriate introduction when he is onboarded and on site, so I'm not gonna give too much away of that. We have a buildings and grounds project supervisor position that is open until the end of the week. So far, we've got 2 applications for that. We have a bailiff position open. The sheriff's department has hired 3 new cadets that were sponsored through, is it Delta College where they go to? Down at Delta. So we're excited to bring them on board, but he's always looking for more applications, both in the jail and for road patrol. County operations and events. I'm going to show you some pictures of this. I'm going to get it situated when Sheila comes up here and talks, but today Breckenridge drew down their final ARPA payment for the In and Out Park project that they are doing. And on May 18th, they are hosting a community celebration at that park they're calling May Day. And they sent me,
Is there a time?
there is a time, it is. I'm just gonna go ahead and share this now since you're asking questions.
May 18th.
It is May 18th, Saturday. In co-honor of my birthday.
Happy birthday, really.
Going on around your birthday. I'm just curious at a time. I can call and find out. I just thought you had it.
I do have it. It's just the computer is being, it's from 4 to 10 p.m.
Do they have a cutting time or? I know they're gonna cut a ribbon. Did it specifically say a time for that? I'll just call and find out.
I'll forward you.
Yeah.
I'll forward all of you the.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be there for that.
So I also got, as part of the closeout package for the ARPA grant, they sent me some really nice pictures of it. Like I said, I'll load those up and share them on the screen here in just a little bit. Our Parks and Rec are starting to operate through reservations currently for events and for camping. So we've got a couple park managers out there that are managing the grounds for those that have reservations. On May 24th, it will be open to the public and our rangers will be onboarded. I think the majority of us attended the annual chamber event that was held last week. I just want to say, I think we all agree that it was a great job put on by Sarah. It was very entertaining, very informative, and fun.
It wasn't long.
And, you know,
It was not long.
Yeah, it didn't drag on.
so, and congratulations to all the community award winners. Last week, the courthouse also got to host the Ithaca 5th grade students for a tour, a mock trial and a mock election. Thank you, Angie. And thank you to the students for coming and visiting us. It's always a fun time when our hallways are packed full of children who are interested in what we do here. May 14th, let's see, I'm skipping over that one. Sheila recently attended a week-long conference to learn more about the recycling world as we are required to revamp our county's materials management plan. So she spent 4 days up there learning about recycling. And so she's gonna just go over some of that soon and talk about what we're gonna do coming up this month.
Okay, yes, as Chris said, I did go to Port Huron last week and learned more than I ever could have wanted about recycling. As overwhelmed as I was, I'm really excited and think that this really can be an opportunity for our community. Currently, we do not have any consistency in recycling within the county, within the townships. Everything is treated a little bit differently, and this plan is going to change that. So some of the sessions that I went to were about behavior change. It was a workshop. It's the little changes that we can all make that make us have a more sustainable future. And talking for 7 hours about how to change those behaviors on an individual basis and as a municipality and how that looks. Additionally, about motivating action in producer responsibility. So, or as George told me, I think today, well, there are plastics that can't be recycled. That is being addressed. It's not just on us as individuals to make changes. It's also on the people that are producing the products to make changes that make it easier for us to make the changes that we need to. So there is pressure from the top as well as providing access on the lower level and more individually. Also talking trash on social media. And that is literally about talking about trash and not about
Like, what are you
being
doing?
negative on social media. I was quite offended by the girl that was presenting because she says, if you have a Facebook page, you are at the youngest an older millennial. And that is true. I graduated in 2000. I am an elder millennial. I'm pretty much the last bastion of people that are on Facebook. Why that's important is because we need to know who we are trying to target. And if we are trying to target people that are elder millennials, that's great. Facebook is great. But the needle gets moved by our young people seeing the difference that this makes. And so we need to evaluate what that looks like for our county. One of the statistics they threw at us, 40% of young people that use TikTok use no other social media platform to gather information. Well, if we want our young people to be recycling, how are we reaching them? And we need to be strategic in that and what that looks like. So it was just one that was really, really interesting for me. So some general takeaways, there is strength and opportunity in the fact that we don't currently have a program. The strength in that is that we get to build something that works for our municipalities rather than using something that was created in the 90s. And I got great examples for other rural communities and what they're doing. So it's not just looking at Kent County and what works for them. Montcalm County was actually awarded one of the top awards from the Michigan Recycling Coalition for what they are doing in a small rural community. And they're our neighbors. We can use their best practices to move us forward. And that's a really exciting thing. Part 115 was what it was generally all about. But also not. So it's talking about recycling as a whole. There were people that were there that were like me from the municipalities, excuse me, but there were also end users. There were people there that are saying, give me your glass, give me your number 6 plastic. We want to use it in this way because recycling isn't always just about taking one thing and taking paper and making it to paper. It is sometimes reusing it. And that's important as well. So kind of just for next steps and what it looks like going forward for us, we are going to continue to work with Isabella County. We have a meeting this coming Friday, which will be good to kind of rehash some details that we all learned because there were several partners from that group that were at this conference as well. I will be meeting on the 14th at the RESD with our township villages, our township supervisor, the village managers, the cities. We will be talking about recycling. What does it look like in their best case scenario? If they got to have their dream recycling program, what does that look like? And the reason I'm approaching it that way is I want to know what the best case scenario is for everybody before we start having those conversations about what it's actually going to look like. So we have the dream scenario and then what it's going to look like in reality. We will also be discussing the blight ordinance at that meeting. So that is May 14th from 2 to 4 at the RESD. The next things up, you guys need to decide a designated planning agent. So that's a person that is going to be representing us to the state as well as to the community. So I kind of de facto have taken that role, but you guys actually have to designate that. So that will be on a future agenda for you guys to choose that person. Who do you want to be the point person on this project? And that's going to be able to be making decisions for this board.
Currently, we have somebody that is in that position, right? And they did not even know that they were.
They are a designee in general, yes, but this we have to specify for this. We are set for that intent to send to the state of Michigan, which is July 6th. That's the next big date that's coming up. As long as that DPA is set before that, we should be all set with that. And then we will be ready to go into an interagency agreement with the Isabella County group. And then from that July 6th date, we have 180 days to submit a work program. But that has not been released by the state, so we don't know exactly what that looks like quite yet. So I know this was a lot of information. If you want to talk about recycling, I could talk about it for days, because I've got days worth of knowledge now in my brain.
I do have a question.
Yes.
RESD 2 to 4, what's the date of that again?
The 14th. That's going to be about recycling and blight.
Well, the percentages here are the percents of total waste.
That's being recycled, yes.
So we're 15%.
Mhm.
And then I see where we could go way up to 70%.
Yes. And a lot of that is the education piece, with people knowing what is recyclable, what can be put where.
Would it take a lot of money or?
Well, so there is money that's going to start flowing in annually. We will have $70,000 that's going to come from the state to help with some of this implementation. So no, it won't necessarily cost a lot of money. There are also grants that can be written for some of the infrastructure for that.
That's a guarantee for what, 3 years,
Per capita,
60,000?
they say that it could be available perpetually because it's part of the through appropriation. So it will continue through appropriation as long as that continues. The 3-year thing is that we get a 3-year per capita of 50 cents per yes, per resident. And that will help with that the initial implementation. But other than that, they expect that other $60,000 will continue to run the program. And so I know there have been concerns with it being an unfunded mandate. It's not. I think everybody in that conference hall agree that it will be a underfunded mandate. So we will have to make decisions about what that looks like. Okay.
I'm gonna share those photos real quick, run through them with you. These were the photos sent to me from the Breckenridge In and Out project that I believe now they've exhausted their funds and they're ready to bring it to the public. George, have you been by there yet?
Many times.
Yeah.
It's very unique and very usable. If you're looking for it, if you know where Anschutz is at, it's directly behind Anschutz. And they've done a great job, and what's, not only is it family friendly, it has nice, beautiful restrooms there. So people walking around Breckenridge and they can go there. They also have another set of restrooms go over in where the water park is at also. So it makes it's a nice venue.
And, got a shot of the flyer up there for anybody that wants to see the flyer. It's now embedded in the video. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. George, what do you got?
Well, let's see, on the 22nd, I went to the Breckenridge Village meeting. They talked about the park. They hadn't set a date yet, but now I know they have. And it was a pretty quick meeting. At this time of year, they've got all their budgets done and everything's done. It's just a point of order business and then they're out of there. So all was good. Then Steve and I went over to Stanton to the Board of Health meeting on the 24th. And it was just general stuff. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary. So that's all I got to report. And if you can think of anything, Steve, add it.
Tim?
Well, the 23rd, I went to the ordered in service and getting along and working as a team. Things. I was struck by the lady said that there's people that are really do not, they fear confrontation. They fear upsetting someone and stuff. And I was just thinking there is a factor in government today that they want to shut people up. They say disinformation. And I was raised with, I may disagree what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. And I think we've gotten away from that. And then the 24th, I went with Jan to Ionia. I've been to Ionia several times. They were in our conference when I played. And it was the MSU extension. And we went a different way than the Ionia that I've ever went, and saw a lot of different things. And the lady that rode with us was very informative about agriculture. And I think MSU extension is slanted towards agriculture, but this young lady talked about people buying homes, buying their house that, to live in. We should have asked her, have you bought a house? But I didn't.
And they do, they have a big place.
They what?
They have I thought they had a farm, but it's just a lot of property. It's Dr. Anderson's wife
Right.
that went with us. And she is somewhat overseeing Conservation District.
The dean,
Yes.
she's really good.
Yes, and her and I have done a lot of meetings together now. And trying to get us all together with Tim and I and her to go to the MSU Extension meetings and the Conservation District. I can never go because it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I'd like to see some of you guys go to it. And they kind of tell you all the things that they do.
Well,
It's
last
very-
fall, I attended a lot of the meetings when we had the tire pickup.
Yeah.
It's involved in that.
Well, they do an awful lot for just regular homes or farms or businesses or anything like that. So anyway, I've asked her to come in and maybe give a presentation. And I'll set that up a little bit as soon as we get past a little bit of this busy time that she has right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt yours.
I was done.
Go ahead, Jan.
Okay, well, I went to the Allen meeting and the Michigan Works meeting, as Tim said, we took a shortcut, which took us the back way into Ionia. We were running a little bit late, so I put it on my GPS and away we
We call it shortcut.
And it was quite a kind of a different way to go, but we got there quick. And then I also had a meeting with, that's MSU, and then I had a meeting with Michigan Works also, and that was in Midland. That was the executive board. And I'm on the executive board plus the regular board. And that's a business that we have to take care of that's more internal. And I was late getting there, but was still glad that I went because there was a lot of stuff that we were talking about jobs. And also what was interesting is, and I never even thought about it, they also do, they put out what jobs are going for today, the minimum wage or what jobs, like if you want to look for a job and you want to make a certain amount of money, or maybe like, for instance, maybe working at a grocery store, what is the starting rate? And also there's different levels of that too. So that was real interesting, but they did share with me that not a lot of places were giving raises right now due to the economy. So, and I thought that was interesting too, but we do have the money because of the wind turbines. So that kind of helps us. So do you guys have any questions on anything that I'm talking about? Oh, one other thing, I'm sorry, I almost forgot it. I did do the study and I want to share this with you because of the fact that it was kind of interesting. I did have the paperwork done. And actually, and even Chris had said it, that we both had the exact same numbers. It was the very end that changed. And the reason that it changed was because I didn't do social security. I also didn't do any money that you have for retirement and stuff like that. So that's why those numbers were off. And then also the way that I had added it 3 different ways, which was a little confusing when Chris and I were talking. And it was because just the way that I had added it, but both our numbers were right. And it was just a different way to get to it. But I was probably mostly wrong because I didn't add all the rest of the stuff in. And I really didn't know how to do that. So other than that, I think it turned out pretty good. Neither one of us were wrong or both of us were right. Do you have anything on that, Chris? Do you want to add to it?
Nope.
Okay, anybody that would like to see the paperwork, you all have seen the paperwork already. And so the difference was he did it on the computer and good old calculator, my calculator worked just fine. So, okay, it's your turn.
On the 17th, the day after our last meeting, I went to the Parks and Rec Board. Big news is they approved them getting another new lawnmower. They're on a program right now with John Deere Corporation where every couple of years they you basically trade up, get the exact same model. So everybody was familiar with that. They were happy to get that. And I actually seen her in action in Olympia the other day when I went by. I was like, that's the new mower. So they got it and it looks like it's doing a great job. And with the spring grass growth, it's getting its work out, doing all the places it's got to mow. 23rd, I was here for training. I agree, Tim. I think it was there's some eye-opening things there for me, but I always think those are good things. And I was really glad you guys involved the commissioners to come to that meeting because I think it was a good thing. 24th, George and I went over to Stanton for the health department. We got our annual picture taken. Other than they talked a little bit about the bird flu and what's going on with that and how the actual morning the meeting was the day that it had hit the national news that it was traces of it were being found in our milk supply. So that was a topic that we discussed. Everything that they knew at that point in time is that it's safe and that's continue that what we've heard, but from what I understand from talking to some folks here in Gratiot County, it's we've had some not only turkey populations that have been hit, but also a couple of our dairy farms. So it's here in Gratiot County. So hopefully it doesn't get any worse than it is. See, Michigan Health. And then we'll be starting the cycle of meetings here again. So kind of cool news for me. Anybody that doesn't know, I think George, you might know I have this a bragging moment for Dad. My youngest daughter was selected to be Congressman Molinar's summer intern. So I'll be traveling to Washington, DC to here in a couple of days to take her out there. So she's super excited, maybe a little bit scared going to Washington, DC, but super proud of her. It's something that she's dreamed of since I took her on vacation. And we got a private tour of the Capitol building by an intern that summer. And on our way home, driving home, she's like, I wanted that job someday. And I was like, yeah, you hear your kids say a lot of things. And here she's 21 and going to graduate from college next year. And she went through the process and multiple interviews. And so I'm super, super proud of her and super excited for her, but not particularly looking forward to the drive to Washington, D.C.
Okay, well, I went for training on the 24th. And I thought it was good. After our last meeting here, I was able to make it to Pine River. Usually they're done by the time we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, don't mess around. Their meetings last more than 35 minutes. There's something wrong. And I see Seville has started building on their new hall. Well, they've started the groundwork. They're not actually doing any building yet, but that's all I got. Okay. Consideration of new business. Number one is a resolution 2024-20. June is National
Yeah, you say it.
Scleroderma Month.
Scleroderma.
Looks like Michael is online.
Okay, Michael is gonna brief us.
There he goes.
Okay,
My turn?
yep.
All right. Good afternoon, and thank you for putting me on today's agenda. I'm Michael F. Besser, a county resident and a patient advocate for the Scleroderma Foundation and Awareness. June is World Scleroderma Month, and for the past 44 years, the state of Michigan has recognized the efforts of the National Scleroderma Foundation and the work we do with the well over 11,000 people living with scleroderma in Michigan. And I am one of them, along with at least 5 other residents of Gratiot County. Like most people, you've probably never heard of this disease before. Scleroderma is an autoimmune connective tissue and rheumatic disease that causes inflammation in the skin and other areas of the body. When an immune response tricks tissues into thinking that they are injured, it causes inflammation and the body makes too much collagen, leading to scleroderma. Currently, there is no known cause or cure for scleroderma, and sadly, it has the highest mortality rate of all rheumatic diseases. I'm reaching out to you today to see if you could approve my ask for a proclamation declaring June as Scleroderma Awareness Month in Gratiot County, Michigan. I have supplied a copy of the wording for the proclamation to Angie Thompson for the board's approval, and I thank you so much for considering this request. And as an added thing, since I put this together, I was diagnosed on August 1st of 2013, and I was told I had 5 years to live. That's obviously didn't happen, and I had my yearly checkup at the University of Michigan, and I have been declared in full remission. And it's only because of the works of people that know about scleroderma awareness and have brought it to the limelight. And so the government has passed laws, rules, and regs, and opened up many areas of improvement for the life of scleroderma patients. So if you could approve my proclamation, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike, I'd like to say hello to you. This is
Hi,
Jan. Yeah, and I'd like to make the motion that we approve this resolution.
Support.
Got a motion by Jan, support by Tim to adopt resolution number 2024-320. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call.
There's no resolution.
Okay,
So Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes,
Commissioner Owens.
yes.
Mike, this is Commissioner Sopke. I have a niece that has scleroderma, and thank you for doing this. This is really cool that you brought this
Awesome,
forward.
awesome.
Yeah.
I
Not a
wish her the
Gratiot Co- Not a
best.
Gratiot County resident, but a resident of Michigan, but yeah. she
That's
has-
okay. That's okay. And when you
Yep.
were speaking about your daughter being Representative Molinar's aide coming up, I have personally spoke to him in his Washington DC office and his aides on my trips to Washington DC fighting for scleroderma awareness. So I appreciate your daughter going into that. So it's going to be an awesome opportunity. And thank you all for approving this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, I'll promise to stop in this.
Just don't run over my mailbox again. Thank you. Brand new mailbox and she runs it over. It's still up though. So
I
anyway.
did, I was at his house next door, actually. I went to back up and ran over his mailbox.
Anyway.
He's never let me forget it.
I will never, ever anyway, thank you so much, folks, and have a great afternoon. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Mike. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
I have to tell you another little story. They wanted me to be the president of the Chamber of Commerce when it was in St. Louis. And I said, no, not, and he insisted, Mike and, I can't remember who the other girl was now. And they both wanted me to be the chair. And I said, no. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll be the chair if I can have a cell phone and a limousine. And they said, no, you can't have that, but you can be the queen of St. Louis. So anyway, that was Lynn. I can't think of her last name. Anyway, Lynn made me a hat every month that represented that month. And I'd wear it to the meeting. So I got to be the queen and wear these neat hats, but I didn't get a phone or a limousine. So anyway, thanks, Mike. I always remember that.
Yep. All right, take care. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, item number 2, Keegan.
Hey, I can make this pretty short and sweet. I have the summer L 4029, which is the operating millage rate for the county. And it is proposed as the exact same as last year as 5.5206 mils. Don't know if anybody has any questions on that or
What's it do?
the operating millage?
Yeah, the summer.
It collects money for our general operating fund through the taxes.
So your summer taxes.
Yep.
Yeah. What
Hmm.
one?
When do they do?
Yeah.
August sometime.
July 1st, I want to say. I checked.
They go out in July and they're due in the middle of September.
Oh, okay, that's right.
It says requested levied the requested to be levied on July 1st. So
Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
They're less money than the other.
Yeah, yep. So that is that's less millage.
The villages aren't piled on top of it.
Yep. So, but that did not get reduced at all. So that is the same as it was last year.
So I would make a motion that we would approve the millage at 5.5206.
Support.
Moved by George, supported by Steve to approve the millage. Have a roll call.
Commissioner Sapsy,
yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Put that together for us.
Next up is blight ordinance update.
I'm gonna ask Deandra to come up here and help me present this. This is something that this board has asked us to work on probably over the last 8 months, and we have come up with a new draft of the blight ordinance. This is the 3rd year that Gratiot County has operated this. We have approximately 10 participants, not approximately, we have 10 participants throughout the county, whether it's villages or townships that rely on ordinance that we produce. The villages and townships, they adopt this ordinance, and then we have an interagency agreement with them to help them enforce it. Deandra having run this program essentially for the past couple years, there were some things that we saw that could be improved, that could help us operational style. We put together the group of individuals here at the county that work with this and sat down, looked at our current ordinance, and then added some verbiage to it that could assist us in the future. The people that worked on this was Judge McDonald, Charles Perkins, District Court, Laura Beaver, the prosecutor, Bill Leonard, Deandra Messer, and that work in the blight program, and myself. The attached ordinance, we did not remove any wording from it. Everything that you see that was highlighted was added to help either define the process or to give extra capabilities to enforce it. And the changes, the ideas of the changes that you'll see is we added a lot of definitions. The way that it was written originally, some things were not defined, which led to misaligned agreements between the person who the complaint is against, the township that we're working with, and then the officers themselves. So we added those definitions in there, so when something was cleaned up, it was defined what cleaned up is, for example. We added inoperable equipment. That was a big addition to this, that a lot of townships that we find, farms, homes in the countryside that might have farm equipment that hasn't moved in 50 years. Is that blight? Is that not blight? We define that within this ordinance. One of the things, it allows the blight officers to refer the complaint to the prosecutor's office much quicker. So instead of the complaint being stalled out for 6 months, we can move it along much quicker. We can hold the occupants accountable. If they are renters, for example, and the owner of the property is not responding, we can work specifically with the occupants. The entire process is documented and what happens if the process is not followed. And then lastly, what we added was streamlining a process for repeat offender. So instead of having to start completely over with a process for a home or a property where somebody had previously cleaned up and had gotten a clean bill of health for it, if that property becomes blighted again, we can streamline that process and move it along. This board is not expected to have, to accept this ordinance. This is an ordinance that the locals accept, but I wanted to get the verbiage in front of you in case you had any recommendations or concerns at this point. So I'll turn it over to you for any questions that you might have. Otherwise, we will move forward with the meeting that Sheila has set up on May 14th. That will be dual purpose materials management and blight for our local units.
I do have a question.
Yep.
Okay. On 46, you have a lot of businesses.
Yep.
There's businesses that take in cars to repair
Yes.
and they got a license to do this.
Yes.
I didn't quite understand. Do they have to have this where they've got a gate around it or a building they can put them in, or can they pull in? Like I know of a couple where they just pull in and they go into the yard. They have an area where these cars go into and then they repair them and get it when they're done. But I know sometimes they get behind or they got a lot of vehicles. How does that affect them, or doesn't it affect anybody with the business?
Yeah, so technically, for any junkyard or salvage yard or auto repair shop, there are different regulations typically within a zoning ordinance and then also with the state of Michigan on what their site is supposed to look like. So if the zoning ordinance does not require a fence, then they're not required to have one. But if they're within a township where their zoning ordinance requires a fence, to block that view from public road frontage, then they would be required to have one. And then if they don't, then they would be in violation of blight if they're participating township and of the zoning ordinance.
And I know of several from St. Louis all the way to Wheeler Township where they work on vehicles. And of course, they don't have a lot of property, so it is actually outside, but it is a business. So if it is a business, that's where I'm not quite sure how you mean this. If you have a business and that's what you do, repair vehicles, do they have to have that inside, or can somebody pull in there? Like say they might have 6 people that need their car fixed. And, there's maybe only 2 guys working on these vehicles and they have to sit out there for maybe a week. They cannot do that, or they can do it, is what I don't understand.
So it depends on their zoning ordinance. So for that specific area, which I believe is Bethany Township and Wheeler Township, they are self-zoned. So when these property owners originally applied to have this business in that specific location, the zoning officer and the township board would look at their site plan and then determine if it met their ordinance standards. So those apply for their use that they apply for at the time. But if you were to apply for a new auto body repair shop, you would have to meet current regulations. Does that make sense?
So in other words, anybody there, it's under their zoning.
Yes.
Anybody new coming in, it's under the new zoning, which you're proposing, right?
If they're part of the blight program, yes. Yep.
Okay. So that was one question I had. I'll think of another one later.
When you mentioned about like farm equipment, I understand what you're talking about, something that has been sitting. But I mean, there's a lot of farms, a lot of historic farms that use old pieces of farm equipment for decoration purposes. They use them, I mean, legitimately. That's what there's old tractors parked in people's front yards for a reason. Not because that's where it quit. That's because that was great grandpa's and that's what started modern farming, and they use it as an ornament. I just don't want any phone calls, because I can think of lots of places in my townships that have these things, and I don't want anybody calling and saying, wait a minute.
Right, yeah, so that is addressed. So if you do have an older piece of equipment or non-operable piece of equipment that you are claiming as decor, there's just a regulation that you just have to keep the ground around it maintained. So you don't want the grass growing 15 inches around it and you can't even see it as decor. You want to maintain that as you would any other yard decor. So it is addressed that if you are using something as decor or yard decor, then you just maintain the area around it, and we're not going to enforce that you have to remove that.
Just move it back farther into the woods, right?
I knew you were thinking of that.
That was the other question I was gonna ask. I knew it was something.
Well,
So,
I'll just make one measure that we have to remember this ordinance that is adopted by the township. All right, so the township supervisor is the first point of contact. In other words, if someone comes to the township supervisor and says, I don't like this down there, the township supervisor would just go down, drive by, see whatever it was, and they get two a year complaints, right?
That's the way that it works out.
Two?
Yep.
All right. So it's up to the township supervisor whether he wants to make that complaint or wait for another complaint. So it's all complaint driven.
Yeah,
Goes through the township supervisor.
They can enforce as many complaints as they want.
Yeah.
But we will,
County.
staff will.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, you know, it's not gonna be a willy-nilly, if I feel this guy's got it, I'm gonna get after him. There's a process to it. And it has to come through the township supervisor first, and they have to fill out paper. And sometimes the township supervisors really don't like to fill out paper. That's the way.
I have one more question too. Like, I've noticed too, there's a lot of really old barns, kind of half down, half up. But the farmers still use it to put their like hay in it, or I'm not sure what all you do put in it, but hay or whatever, or maybe the dogs live out there. Is that something that they'll do something about it, or will they have to take it down, or is that not even, as long as it's a structure, it stays?
So that's at the discretion of the township. So if they feel the need to submit a complaint to us where there is a structure that might be deemed unsafe, we wouldn't make them take it down to begin with. We would basically just ask them that they make that structure sound and safe so that it's not a hazard. And then if they fail to do so, or it is deemed to be a hazard to themselves or to a neighboring property, then we would ask them to basically demo the building. But we've run into this before, and typically the property owners will just make the structure safe rather than having to tear it down, just because it's cheaper for them. They'll either board up the windows or they'll add more support. They're not necessarily wanting to take it down. So we're not going to force someone to take it down immediately. And I think that was a misconception when the program started, was that we were going to just run out and start telling people to tear down their buildings because they look terrible. We're not here to yell at these people. We're here to help them. So if there is a structure that's a hazard to themselves or their community, we're going to help them either find resources to make it safe, or to make it into a better situation for everyone involved.
You?
Thank you.
Good evening.
Next up, Gratiot County 911 resolution. Dave?
Oh, good afternoon. How are you all today? Thank you for allowing me to come up and speak with you for a few moments. I am here today to talk about resolution 24-321. And this is the first time I've ever done this, so do I read this? You all have a copy of it.
Yeah.
Should I read it out loud first?
If it's necessary,
Paraphrase.
Paraphrase it? Okay. So, Gratiot County 911 is looking to place a millage on the ballot on August 6th of 0.6 mils to raise funds for capital improvement and other maintenance and operating funds for the Central Dispatch Center. We are extremely behind in technology. Things such as a radio tower, our computer aided dispatch system. Our furniture is the original furniture from the center, which is about 16 years old, I believe, at this point. It's not working. As well as the daily operations of paying bills and other such items. We are budgeted as best as we can. We've been using our fund equity balance the last few years to make ourselves even at the end of the year to combat the deficits that we've had. We are at a maximum when it comes to our surcharge and the telephone surcharge, which is $3, which is levied by as high as it can be, and that was in 2018. You last approved that. We are still working with just that money. That's the only funds that come into central dispatch besides a small amount from FOIAs, tapes that might need to be reproduced. And we share some costs with the officers for ABL and things of that nature that we bill out and get money in, but that's a very small amount. That money has stayed the same and actually gone down over the last 5 years, 6 years, and continues to go down because now we no longer have landlines in our houses. 85 to 90% of the people have a cell phone. And that's how the surcharge is captured now. So that has drastically been reduced. We count on the cell phone companies to pay their bills to us. They're $3. We can't police them. There's too many of them. They come in and out of businesses. Those that don't have contracts or are pay as you go type, they don't pay the $3. They pay a 6% fee of their payment, which is not anywhere near the $3 that we need. And as we look forward to going, we're still paying, we're bringing money for 2018 and paying 2024 prices as it's been put to me in some other places. The vendors' prices have gone up on our technology, and all of you that have visited 911 or been out there know that everything we do is technologically based. Computers, radios, everything is now up expensive as we go forward, just like everything else. We're at a point where we can't sustain or actually do capital improvement projects that we need to do to maintain the 911 service that we give to you today. As we go forward, we'll be going backwards. So this millage will help us with the next generation 911, which is a requirement, which will be, we have the text to 911. Part of that is also the video 911 platform where you'll be doing basically a FaceTime 911 call and all the background and things that go with that. Our telephone system needs to be updated again. It's an ever going on of upgrades and replacements for the center. So I'm asking for your approval of this millage for the August 6th ballot so we can let the people vote on it. And it'll be my responsibility to educate everybody that wants to know everything they want to know about 911 and what a vital service it is, not only to the community, to our responders, and things that we do for emergency services in the county.
Let me try and summarize this for everybody from a different direction and you either confirm or deny. On an annual basis, it costs you about $900,000 to $1 million to operate central dispatch currently.
Yes.
You bring in about $1.2 million, $1.25 million a year that you can use for that. You have a list of projects that you need to do.
Yes, there's a long project.
And those are projects that you would like to do probably in the next 6 years, I think is what you said.
Over the next 6 years, this millage will go for 6 years.
How much do those projects cost in a ballpark if you don't have that right now?
I put prices on there.
Should be, I think
Start
it's
with
about
the tower.
$5 million.
Yeah.
Do them all.
We start with the tower at 3.3 and then add on from there.
Well, that's
There's
the number side of what?
there's 250 to 500,000 for a CAD system. There's another 30,000 that we're looking at in October for our phone system. The 911 phone system for upgrades only. That's not hardware that'll need to be replaced in the next 4 years. The furniture is roughly probably going to cost us about 100,000 now for the positions that they sit at. We did replace the CPUs, but they'll be replaced again in 3 to 5 years. The servers are coming up for replacement 2025. That's a good 10 to 15,000 more. There's nothing under $10,000 that's going to help to pay for. So there's a long list of different things that we do. IT contracts, can't maintain it all. It has to be done by a specialist. People that know 911 systems. There's contracts with all the vendors to keep their things up maintenance wise. So the radio contracts every year. Now we will, the new radio system that was bought a couple years ago will be paid off this October, which is good. Yeah, a lot of money to do a lot of different projects that need to be done that haven't been addressed. And a lot of those come from a 2018 compliance report from the state.
What will happen with, if you get this new tower in the north part of the county, is that gonna help because of the load that's on the one just south of town here? Is it gonna, because quite frankly, the radios don't work any better in southeast Gratiot County either. I live there and they suck.
The tower that's going to be, that we proposed is going to immensely help Elma, which sits in a hole, as well as all the townships, Sumner, Seville, Elm Hall, all the way out to the county line with better reception.
Whole Pine River Valley is horrible.
Yep. So that tower will take them from maybe 75% up to about a 96% coverage.
How about out of Fulton and Rainbow Lake and?
There won't be any tower down there. There's already a tower in Rainbow Lake that the state put up by themselves. And then we have the tower here at Central Dispatch. And then we have a repeater system at Barrington. So those systems, I haven't had as many complaints about that area.
Not that area, it's east towards Saginaw County that they don't work.
Or from Ashley, truthfully. They have 800 megahertz pagers, which seem to work very well. Their radios are good. But you start talking to an Elma officer, a fire department, or even the sheriff's department, and it's scratchy, it doesn't come through, it's digital, the coverage just isn't there.
I have a question for you. I can't use my phone in Ithaca, downtown Ithaca, or as soon as I start calling, as soon as I get out to the corner, it quits until I get out of town.
You got Verizon, don't you?
Yeah, Verizon. That's a phone issue. That's a phone company issue. That's Verizon. Now Verizon is putting a new tower just south of town here. They have a new tower that went up, I think over by the golf course. I did get word of that. And they are in the process of re-signaling their towers throughout the state for coverages. I get one every couple of weeks.
Even in my apartment, I'll be talking, all of a sudden the calls drop. It's in St. Louis. So is that Verizon?
That's still a phone company issue, fortunately. Yeah. Yep. This is going to help the radio portion.
I call them and tell them that you said that it's their fault.
Oh. No, don't do that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe this question is more for Chris or Angie. When we generate or come up with the verbiage for a millage, is that normally drafted, no offense, by someone like him that's the head of the department? Or is that done through an attorney?
It's done through an attorney and he did that.
Okay, so this has been all vetted through an attorney, so.
I did not take it to an attorney. I looked at the sheriffs and went through voted off the sheriff's current resolution. So. Which has been vetted by an attorney. There you go.
Which is what?
Been vetted by an attorney.
By an attorney.
Okay. So you want a motion? I'll make a motion that we,
My only concern with that is we vote on this and it has not been truly vetted, not that we, I don't know, I think we still have a little bit of time to get this on the August thing, right?
Deadline is.
Tomorrow.
14th.
Next week.
Yeah. I've been working on this for months. Trying to get to.
No, you haven't, Fernando. I appreciate that.
I just want to be sure that us approving something that hasn't been vetted, if it becomes an issue, that comes back on the five of us that are sitting here.
Exactly.
What are we voting on? The
verbiage for him to put this on to put it on the August ballot.
Just put it on the
Did you
August.
say you had an attorney?
That's all we're voting on. I use the sheriff's.
For the
took out the-
verbiage of this village that he gave us,
Yeah.
that we're voting to approve him to put this verbiage on the August ballot, correct?
So the voters approve. We don't.
Yeah, the voters
do anything other than the fact it's on the ballot.
How about, can you have the prosecuting attorney check it over, or do you have to have an attorney?
No, there are attorneys that's what their job is.
So,
I mean, I had my sister look at it, but she's a defense attorney, so, you know.
You know, I know that you're maybe needing some money and things like that, but this board cannot accept liability on, well, the sheriff and I looked at it, or my sister looked at it. I do not feel comfortable voting on millage language that has not been vetted by an attorney, a proper attorney that does this kind of thing.
we just pay for, as the county commissioners, approved to pay for this, so you don't have to, since you don't have any money. Can we do that?
I don't think it's that part of it. I have legal fees inside my budget. It's just I did not have the time to get it vetted.
And trust me, I know you need this because I understand completely. My concern is on the legality of it. Granted, it's gonna be all the population of Gratiot County that will vote, but we approved the actual verbiage that they were voting on. That's the problem. That's how it comes back to us, is we approved the actual verbiage of it. So they only have the citizens have a choice of voting yes or no. We have to look at the verbiage and know that it is tight and right. Until we make the big bucks.
No, because if it's wrong and 2 years down the road, somebody discovers there's something wrong, who's on the hook for all the millage that was paid?
County.
The county, we gotta pay it back.
There you go. That's all I'm saying.
But you have to have this, we have to have this done by next week. So what would we do? Make a motion that if it's approved by an attorney,
Well, the county,
or how would we do that?
is there any way we can get this in front of the county's attorney?
When,
Well, before the 14th.
I don't see why we couldn't.
Because I think you could put it in the clause, in the motion that once vetted and approved by the county's attorney,
That's
it can be placed on the board, it can be placed on a ballot. That should allow enough time, I would think, for them to at least review it.
Well, the thing is if we send it to an attorney, they are gonna make changes, because that's what they're paid to do. They're gonna change it. And you don't know what those changes are gonna be. And to blindly approve.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable blindly approving?
No.
I don't think.
No.
So our option would be to have
I would propose that if the board agrees that we would allow our attorney, Stoker, review this, okay? And he does whatever he needs to do. We got till the 14th, right?
4 o'clock, yes.
All right, we have a special meeting. 2 o'clock on the 14th or whatever to approve this, or whenever it is approved, we can post. You gotta have 48 hours for a meeting?
18.
18 hours.
Okay. And so that's what I would feel more comfortable.
That's my big thing. I know you need this.
Mhm.
I know you do.
Well, yeah, and
I've been in that
yeah.
911 center enough.
It wasn't just,
Dealt
right,
with
I've referred to other
It's,
counties millages and everything,
I'm sure you have done extensive homework on it.
but I understand
For me to
understand your
stand
concern.
here and say, I took it
don't want
on to
anybody
do the
to-
job, and
anything-
if I,
been through these millage changes before. We think it's right. We send it off and guess what? It wasn't right.
well,
Well, I don't want to get into this and we prove it 2 years down the road or 3 years down the road. And all of a sudden, well, that ballot language was wrong. That means the ballot's invalid and the whole thing is invalid and we're on the hook for $3 or $4 million.
I don't think there might be favorable.
I don't think we should take that chance.
Well, I wouldn't ask anybody to take that kind of chance, no.
You know, that's not fair to the county.
Monday at 4:30.
So, you know, if we can make it work, let's make it work. But I just don't like to think we should take any real action on it.
It's just asking. Don't write it down.
So what time would you,
Monday at 4:30.
Monday, so next
I
Monday?
can get it posted tomorrow. And that gives the attorney,
Because if we can't get it, we can't get it, but I can't, in my own conscience, vote on this until that's done.
so would you like to make a motion to have a special meeting on Monday, May 13th at 4:30?
I would do that.
I'll second.
Motion by George, supported by Jan, to have a special meeting Monday at 4:30.
Approve the verb.
Move the resolution.
Discuss the.
Make sure it's language.
Yep.
Make sure it's right. I agree.
No problem. Okay, thank you very much.
We need to-
Do we have a second?
Yeah, Jan supported it. We just need to vote.
We
We
did.
just need to vote.
There was I mistake.
Need a roll call vote on that or? All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Seal coat, coating the asphalt at the county buildings. Tony?
So I'm Tony Miller with Buildings and Grounds. Like Chris said, we had it in the capital improvement plan to reseal all the asphalt parking lots that we have here. There's a health department,
Go away.
Circle Drive, the church lot across the road, animal control, in between here and the jail, and Commission on Aging. So we put out an RFP, we got 3 quotes back. One was from McKerney, and then from Lansing. They were $161,422, but they didn't feel right doing the Commission on Aging, just seal coating.
Bad.
Well, to totally replace that parking lot, we have to redo an RFP and completely redo that. And that lot is shared with the neighbors. So a percentage of this is gonna come in an agreement with them. So we can't really use that one. The other one we got was Wolverine Seal Coating out of Jackson, Michigan. That was $23,547.19 to seal coat those properties. And then we had one from Fox Seal Coating in Shepherd, Michigan. Total was $17,761.58. My recommendation to the board would be to hire Fox Seal Coating, not only because of them being the lowest bid, but they did it the last time for us. They're familiar with the property. They work weekends. They did the Circle Drive and in between the sheriff and the courthouse last time on a weekend. So it doesn't interfere with our daily activity so much.
what was their quote price again?
It was 17,000. No, you gotta put my glasses back, George. $17,761.58. He does all the work for Central Michigan University. He did Shepherd Public Schools, Elma Public Schools. Been around for a while. Good crew.
I make a motion to approve.
For Fox, right?
Yeah, for 17,761.59 or 50.
The outfit from Shepherd,
Yep.
and they've done it before.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They're good. Motion by Tim, support by Steve, to accept the bid from Fox Seal Coating in the amount of $17,761.58. All those in favor? Probably should have a record roll call.
Yep. Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Owen.
Yes.
we're gonna schedule.
Thanks, Tony.
Get taken care of. Thank you.
Step Sheriff's Annual Report. Mike?
Good evening. Your last annual report.
Yep, I just want to set the record straight. I provided Dave with my ballot language for our millage, and I think COA did also. Have I seen that in the package, correct? Commission on Aging?
Yeah.
So I did not look at his ballot though, language. I just give him the information.
You had, correct, yep, that's fine.
Because I thought somebody said that.
No, he was
that I
right.
looked at, I did not.
Honestly, gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
But you understand her.
Yeah, I do. But I did not look at it.
No.
I thought somebody said I had looked at his ballot.
Okay.
Okay, so anyways, you have in front of you, I don't know if you have the hard copy or computer copy, but our end of the year report for 2023. As you can see, there are some things that are pretty close to normal from year to year and some things that are a little bit different. First thing I'll point out is, we were down a little bit in mileage. That's, because we're down a few deputies here in the county. So, hopefully next year that will be back up close to where we have been. We have, gas consumption's down based on that. Tickets issued were down.
Can you tell me the page?
Yeah, well, they're not numbered, but I'm on, actually vehicle information at the top. That's where all the, everything pretty much starts. So, the other is it break down to man hours and stuff like that. So, down in tickets a little bit, that's due to being down some deputies. You'll notice in the complaints, and Commissioner Sopsey will understand this, from 2022 to 2023. 2022, we had a reporting problem with our computers numbers, and we were trying a different system, and so it reflected that we were only at 4,100 in 2022. Regular complaints and complaints for our secondary road patrol were 565 compared to last year 5791 and 843 for a total of just a little over 6,600 complaints last year. Doing math, that's about 18 per day that we take in the county and the city of Ithaca. Those are combined numbers. If you notice, in 2023, under traffic accidents on the next page, total accidents were up by 30 last year. Fatal accidents, we had 4 more than the year before, and persons that were deceased in a fatal accident were also 7. So we had 1 for each fatal accident. Personal injury accidents were just down 2 from the year before, so that's about right. Drivers with alcohol involved personal injury, we were about the same. Drugs was down, involved in accidents. Next page is money to county treasurer. As you can see, we were up a little bit in copies, photos, etc. A little bit lower on conveying convicts, transports, that's transports to prison, etc. We get reimbursed from the state for that. Fingerprinting fees were almost to the exact dollar of what they were the year before. We also do abandoned vehicles for some of the local tow yards. Paper service was up a little bit. Operating on the influence of reimbursement, we get reimbursed from the defendants in that case. We're up almost $11,000. All right, and then if you go to the next section, that's the jail section. First is man hours again, and you'll see our count, average daily count was up in 2023. And next year, I will not be giving this report. It'll be the new sheriff, but next year, you're going to see it even higher. Our count has been running anywhere from 70 to 73. Our capacity is 72. We were at 70 this morning. So it's going to be up even higher. Part of that is the district court has taken more of a hard stance on people coming to jail. There's lots of warrants out there for people failing to appear for arraignment when they're released with 0 bond. And the judge and the magistrates in district court are starting to put a bond on them now, and people are not able to post that bond if they haven't appeared for court before. So that's why our numbers are quite significantly higher right now. But But there's your numbers for last year. We actually served over 16,000 more meals in the jail than we did the year before. Next page is money returned to the county treasurer. If there's any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to address that with you. Next is monies returned to the courts. As you can see, bonds were up in 2023, $148,000 compared to 90,000 the year before. Circuit court, friend of the court, all up, and out of county bonds were also up almost $14,000. And that's it for my report. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them for you.
Those meals up because it's better food now?
We did improve the food a little bit, yes, but no, it's because of the population, Steve.
And they wanted to come back
Yeah,
for the meal.
yep,
Well, thank you, Mike, for your last annual report.
yeah, yep. Thank you very much.
I'm just giving that, right?
Hey, I've given, I think this is the fifth one, so.
Great job, sir.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We need a motion to approve that, or is that just?
No, I think this is just enough.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, see.
I'm back. And because I have recycling on my mind, I did not print out packets for all of you on this. This is really just a formality. So at the last meeting, you guys have decided that we were going to move forward with the class comp study. What that means for our unions is that the contracts that we had in place must be adjusted because we are moving off the TPOAM scale and the GELC scale to move to the new scale. So we did need to open up communication with our unions for TPOAM and GELC to get their approval for us to move off of the current scale. There's nothing else that's being adjusted in the contracts, just that pay scale. They both did ratify this. So it is before you, Dave, if you would be willing to sign those with both unions so that those can be set and be sent back out to our union membership.
Excellent.
You just got.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You need to approve the letter of
We
funding.
need a,
That in the motion, if anybody.
I think so.
I so moved that we approve the contract adjustments for both unions to reflect the comp study, combining them so that they're one. They're using the same scale instead of two opposing.
Support that.
By Steve, supported by George, to agree with the letters of agreement. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
I move we go to the airport.
I'll support that.
Moved by Tim, support by George to enter into the airport meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any public comment? Anybody want to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Support.
George, supported by Tim, to approve the minutes of the April 17th meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. New business.
All right, resolution 24-322, Airport Authority authorized airport signature. This is a resolution that was sent to me from the MDOT Bureau of Aeronautics. They're moving from the city manager, Alma being the authorized signature, to the county administrator of Gratiot to be the authorized signature. So they need the airport authority to approve this resolution. So myself and my predecessors can sign off on.
So moved.
Moved by George, support by Steve, to authorize the airport signature. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Oh, pardon me. This is a roll call.
Back up the truck.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
You know why you did that, Dave? Cause you went and watched Kevin run that meeting and he was, that's right.
Okay, we got re- an RFQ for airport engineer.
So when the county took over the operations of the airport, the advisory group came in and recommended several projects to be done. In order for these projects to be done, they need to be a part of a 5-year plan that has been put to bid for qualifications for an engineering firm to be associated with the Gratiot Community Airport. So what we put this RFQ out through MDOT's aeronautics program. We received one bid for services. This bid came from our current engineering firm, Green and Newhoff. I do believe John is online right now to hopefully reintroduce himself. But my recommendation to this authority board would be to accept the proposal from Green and Newhoff for this new 5-year plan. Do you have any questions?
John's.
We are both here. Well, I'm here. John is
He's right there.
at the lake house, perhaps?
No, just outside. It's a little quieter than in my house right now. So, yeah, no, we're excited to keep working with you guys at the airport. Got a lot of good things we're going to hopefully get done out there. Some lighting on the runway and, yeah, maybe a new terminal building, but yeah, we'll, hopefully just keep serving you well and keeping that airport, operating the best it can be for you guys.
That was the big push for this, was to get a terminal study performed so that we can get a solid grant package in later this fall. So if this,
Well, I would assume that after we approve you, you'll get right started on that terminal. And we need that and we need you on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. So yeah, the first part of that, like Chris said, will be, we got to do a little study to show what's eligible. And that will let us apply for some grant funds that, should help, pay for the majority of that project. So
And I do believe in a previous meeting, we did vote to have some funds for that, right?
you did, you approved the funds for the study.
Right. So that's all set. So we're just waiting on you now. Well,
Yeah.
if we approve you.
yeah. So yeah, I guess if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, I'm just looking at the total picture of our airport out there. We've been after it now for a few months and we can understand and starting to find out what I say, where all the bodies are buried. We've got a lot of things that we've got on our plate. And I'm starting to understand that there's a great lag time between what we want and what the state will put on their list and when we can get it. And those are the things that I wish that in the future we could get straightened out a little bit, because boy, we take a long time to get anything and somehow we got to get moved to the front of the line.
No, so yeah, we'll help you get things through as fast as we can. Part of the reality of, getting the federal and state funds is that there's quite a bit of bureaucracy involved, but we deal with that at lots of airports and we'll help, try and get your projects funded as quick as we can.
Okay, appreciate it.
You need a motion for this?
Yeah.
I so move that the board accept Green and Newhoff's RFQ for the Gratiot Community Airport.
Moved by Steve, supported by George, to accept Green and Newhoff's RFQ for the community airport. Do we need a roll call? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you.
Do you have any additional public comment?
I think we can, do we have time for the airport manager?
Yeah, he was not on the agenda, but I would like to hear from him if he's got some words.
Question, in the winter, we were gonna do a tour and it got canceled due to poor weather.
Yeah.
Now there might be a mosquito problem out there. I was wondering if we could reschedule that now that it's.
Yeah, we talked about that for the next meeting.
I'd just really like to, I think all of the board members wanted to go on that.
Sure, right.
And I also want to see the new fuel station, and it's up and running now, and I mean, I have high hopes for this airport. So.
Can we have a ride to Florida and back too? Just kidding, yeah.
Depends if you ask, that's right.
If you have a report for us, Dennis? You're up.
Yeah, I just thought I'd give you a little update here because yeah, it'd be great to have people come out, see the airport, see what we got going there. So whenever you guys want to schedule it, the advisory group also wanted to do a little tour, but we didn't want to do it in the weather, snow and stuff. So I just thought I have a few things that's just been happening in the last couple of weeks here. I thought I'd just bring you up to date on that. 425 Michigan MDOT notify us that they're not planning to update the phone lines to the airport. Right now, the airport has T1 lines for some instruments and equipment in the basement at the airport. And they're copper lines, and they were looking at putting in fiber from Superior Street up in Alma out to the airport. And the equipment in the basement there provides pilots, if they're sitting on the runway, they can get clearance to go IFR. So, but after this has been going on for a couple months. We've had people from Washington DC out. We had people from the FAA, federal ones out looking at this, and they had a contractor come out that was working with them at different locations. They got the cost back. It was going to cost around $200,000 to bring fiber down to the airport. And the activity that we have at the airport for that service is, well, it's infrequent. Okay. So when they were looking at the cost justification for it, they decided not to spend that kind of money. But out of that, there's a cage in the basement where all this equipment is locked in. They wanted to know if we wanted them to remove the cage. They're going to remove the equipment. I told them the cage could stay there. If we ever wanted to lock something up again, it's a nice cage. So, and they would rather leave it than remove it. So they'll be out. The service has been disconnected recently, and I think they're going to be out next week to take the equipment out, move it. It's not uncommon that they're closing some of these down around if the use isn't high enough. So that was the 25th. 28th of April, we had something kind of a little bit unusual at the airport. We had a bridal shower. It was in Hangar 1. One of our students.
Yeah, the treasurer said she met you there.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, we had 60 women, ladies there for the bridal shower. We had it in our corporate Hangar 1 there. So it's surprising talking to people as they come in. They didn't even know where the airport was, so, a lot of them did, but some of them didn't, so. Courtesy car on the 29th, we took that in to the dealer, needed an oil change. We had to fix the door locks because the back part of the courtesy is a Crown Vic from the sheriff's department, and once you get in, you can't get out. And they also had to fix a rear wheel bearing on the passenger side, and there was also a recall on the steering rod. So I don't have it back yet. Hopefully, we'll get it back this week. On May 2nd, Chris gave me a contact for Consumers Power. We're working on these trees. We got like 7 trees that are right by a consumer line. So I contacted them. Luckily, Katie from Consumers, who deals with power lines and tree trimming, she was in the area, so I met with her on the same day. And the right of way is pretty narrow, only 15 feet, and these trees off to the side. So her input was just make sure that whoever we have cut the trees have got the correct insurance for liability and stuff, especially around the lines there. Fuel farm on the 3rd, we had a issue on the 100 lowlight again with the pump surging. So I called Sparling Corp, and they were out on the 4th. They were on site for about 4 hours, trying to figure out the surging problem. It went away. It was there when they were there, so that was good for them to experience it. But we'll see if it comes back, or they're still trying to figure out if it's one of the valves in there that's missed working. So we can still pump fuel, but it surges, which sounds kind of it's quite noisy when it surges. Kind of scares the people a little bit, but it will pump fuel. The 4th, we had what we call the daffodil fly-in. We had it's really the Michigan Antique Airplane chapter. They have an annual meeting every year. Last few years it's been at Elma, and one of the locals that's part of that does pretty much all the work. We just had to set up tables and let them use one of the hangars, hangar 1. We had 2 planes that flew in around noon. If you remember Saturday, it was foggy. So we had about 30 people total. So all the rest drove in. The 6th, yesterday, we had Jet come in, Growmark. I don't know if you people are familiar with Growmark. They're an agricultural supply co-op out of Bloomington, Illinois. They have activity in 40 states and in Canada. So they have a local business they bought back in 2018, Gratiot Agricultural Professional Services, FS. They have locations in Fillmore Road in Ithaca, Fowler and Middleton, and they serve about 18 counties. We got a jet coming in on tomorrow from Arkansas. We also have we're trying to get finalize a couple of proposals for the tree cutting and for the beacon repairs. And then we have actually we have a high school graduation party at Hangar 1 on the 25th of May. One of our people that have an airplane at the same granddaughter's graduating. So we'll get a few more people to see what's happening at the airport and stuff. So that's all I have.
Well, administrative updates. We expect to have the Beacon RFP up on Mitten into the state by Friday afternoon. We're gonna have both you and Steve Menhart review that before it goes up, but that's when I've been told that will go up. We were putting together a vehicle policy and waiver form for the vehicle. And we realized that the county vehicle policy has a few weaknesses in it too. So we're going to incorporate the policy to include the county vehicle uses also. And I could have had that ready today, but I wasn't going to push a policy for the county on the commissioners without you seeing it ahead of time. Because that is a top 5 duty of the commissioners to approve policies. So I expect to have that to you next week.
Next meeting.
Next week for the next meeting.
A week after.
And then, but I hope to get the waiver form out to you ahead of time, since that will be unique to the airport, and having a waiver for this is a good idea.
If that's ready and you don't want to wait, we're having a special meeting on Monday.
That's a good.
You could add that to the agenda. You know what I'm saying?
And yep.
So you won't have to wait. We can get it going.
And then Tony's gonna meet with you this week too about coming up with a maintenance schedule. The blind side of the manager's report and stuff we're working on behind the scenes for you.
All right, yeah, I talked to Tony today about all that, so. All right, cool. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bennett. That concludes it. I would make a motion that we would go back to the regular meeting.
Support.
Motion by George, support by Tim to leave the airport meeting and go back into the regular board meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed, nay.
Motion.
Hold it a second. Can we have some public comment?
There you go. Ready, you want to make a comment? About ready to, we're all done.
Here, sure, take 2 minutes of your time.
But you should.
I've got my own meeting to go to and I have to be here shortly, so. Most of you know me. Hi, I'm Brett Boblis. I'm running for Mike's position. I served for 25 years at the Gratiot County Sheriff's Office. I still consider that, home. Got a lot of fond memories there. A lot of good people that are currently working there that I don't even know, but I know what kind of work that they're doing and expected to do, and because I've done it. I've working for the city of Alma at the transit department, which that's a whole nother, it's interesting, but I have 20 staff currently. We were up to almost 24 staff at one point, but most of them are part-time. And so it's very fluid out there. But we provide a wonderful service, and I've got to learn MDOT and the RFQs and patience. Trying to spend a federal dollar, it does take an act of Congress to do so. So $1.5 million budget that I'm responsible for. The staffing, I have experience in all of that. The other two candidates, great guys, friends of mine. But a position as important as sheriff for Gratiot County, I would hope that you'd want somebody that has experience in Gratiot County, and I have that. So I do have a list of folks that are backing me. I have some paperwork that I can give you if you're interested in reading that literature. It's just one pager, nothing much, but I'm willing to take any questions that you might have. Crickets. All
Thanks,
right.
George, for making us have to listen to that.
Yeah. Sorry, George.
He was sitting there doing nothing.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Brett.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Tim, supported by Steve. Adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Please nay.
Okay.
Adjourn.